The subject that we are continuing from last time is the subject you are what you eat. What is recommended, what is not recommended. Last time last session I discussed what was not recommended. But I'd like to continue and elaborate on so many other things. There's a very nice story of Dhanvantari, who is the divine incarnation as the god of medicine. And Dhanvantari took the form of a bird. And taking the form of a bird, he decided to find who was the most or who was the greatest physician. So he traveled from physician to physician, asking them what they felt was the secret of good health. And every physician had his own answer for what was the secret of good health. But while each of them recommended their own ideas of what was good health, Dhanvantari finally selected Bharadwaj as the most brilliant physician because his answer to the secret of good health was Hita Bhuk, Mita Bhuk, Rita Bhuk, and Ashaka Bhuk. So these, he said, were the secret of good health. The secret of good health is number one, Hita Bhuk. Hita Bhuk means to eat only that which is beneficial for you. Very often we eat for taste. Very often we eat for various other reasons, social reasons and other reasons. But the secret of good health is to eat that which is beneficial to you. Today it has been well realized and well established by science that a plant-centered diet is the healthiest of all diets. That eating plants and having your diet centered around plants makes your diet healthy. Because after all, God has created your body for eating plants. I explained this to you that the length of the intestine determines how long the food remains in your gut. And the gut of the carnivore, the gut of the meat-eating animal, is only 3 times the length of the body. Whereas the length of the herbivore, the length of the gut of the cow, is almost 12 times the length of the body. The human being who does not eat grass, therefore, still has a gut which is 8 times the length of his body and which indicates clearly that his body has been created for the prolonged digestion of plant food. And all over the world, people have established that a plant-centered diet is that which is the most beneficial for you. But just because you are interested in eating food that is beneficial for you or eat a book does not mean that you should eat large, copious amounts which are unnecessary. The next aphorism, which is Mita Bhuk, is to eat in restricted quantities. When you eat unlimited quantities of food, we put on weight, we become obese, and obesity has its own complications. As you are probably aware, COVID generally strikes younger people, especially when they are overweight and obese. Those who are fat, those who are obese, are more likely to be struck by COVID. But those who are fit, those who are lean, such people are less likely to be hit by COVID. So all over the world, they have realized that obesity, overweight is one of the causes of being a victim of COVID infection. Not only that, everyone knows that diabetes, hypertension, and a whole host of other diseases come with being overweight. So therefore, it's very important that we have is called myth book. To illustrate myth book, we have to read some of the yogic scriptures, and some of the yoga Upanishads very clearly declare how one should eat food. The yogi is supposed to drink water that fills half his stomach before he eats any food. So half his stomach is filled with water, 1/4 is filled with food, and 1/4 is filled with air. This is the advice from the yogic shastras. So before you eat your meal, drink water to fill half your stomach. This is interesting because for many of us, the hunger center and the thirst center are very close together. So what happens is often we think that we are hungry when actually we are thirsty. And when you drink water and quench your thirst, automatically you realize you're not as hungry as you thought. So it's very important to have water as a means of filling a good part of your stomach before you start eating food. In fact, there's a saying that one who drinks water before his meals is called a yogi. One who drinks water along with his meals, he is called a bhogi. And one who drinks water after his meals, he is called a rogi. So not only should you have hita bhuk, but you should have mita bhuk, which is that you should take small quantities of food rather than large quantities of food. The one factor which has been shown to be consistently correct in increasing your lifespan and increasing your functional lifespan is if you consistently eat about 250 calories less than what is your normal requirement. And eating a hypocaloric diet is known to reduce your illness and also to increase your length of life. So you are fitter for a longer time, for a longer duration of life. So Hita Bhuk, Mita Bhuk. Rita Bhuk means that you have to eat that food which is appropriate and in season. Some fruits are in season, some vegetables are in season. You should eat those fruits. Don't try to eat the fruits that are not in season. Don't try to eat the vegetables that are not in season. Because by eating vegetables and foods and fruits that are in season, you live a healthier life. So in fact, Rita Bhuk means eat those foods which are appropriate and seasonal. So don't try to eat winter vegetables in summer or summer vegetables in winter. Don't try to eat summer fruits in winter or winter fruits in summer. So Rita Bhuk means those foods, those which are appropriate to the season that is currently existing where you are. Similarly, there is a thing called Ashaka Bhuk. And Ashaka Bhuk means do not eat forbidden foods. I will elaborate further on that, but last time I discussed it in detail. And I explained to you the illnesses caused by eating products of violence, by eating the flesh of animals. All of this is known to increase your risk of disease and shorten your life. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that there are three qualities or three divisions of food. And these divisions of food are foods that are in the mode of sattva or goodness. Those foods that are in the mode of rajagun or in the mode of passion. There are those foods that are in the mode of tamogun or in ignorance. And in chapter 17, text 8 to 10, Krishna tells Arjuna, आयु सत्व बल आरोग्य सुख प्रीति विवर्धनः रसय स्निग्ध स्थिर हृदय ahara satvika priya. So those foods that increase the duration of your life, that purify your existence, that give you strength, bala, which give you health, arogya, those which give you sukha, which give you happiness and satisfaction. These are nourishing foods which are juicy, palatable, nourishing. These foods are known as foods that are in sattva gun or foods in the mode of goodness. Those people in whom sattva gun is predominant, they are more naturally attracted to these foods. Similarly, Krishna explains to him that there are foods which are known as those which are in the mode of passion. Katva amla lavanati ushna tikshana ruksha vidahina ahara rajasyeta dukha shokamaya pradaha. So those foods that are very bitter, very sour, very salty, very pungent, which are very dry and very hot, are liked by people who are in the mode of Rajoguna. So those who are in the mode of passion, those who are in the mode of Rajoguna, are naturally attracted to these foods which are bitter, sometimes very sour, very salty, very pungent, very dry, very hot. These are foods that attract people of Rajoguna. And these foods cause pain and they cause distress and they cause disease. I had a friend who, of course, loved such hot and spicy foods that he used to say that if I eat a meal and my shirt is not soaked in perspiration in an air-conditioned room, if my scalp does not become wet with perspiration on eating the food, then he said, that meal has not been pleasing to me. It has not satisfied me. Unfortunately, eating foods like this cause various gastrointestinal diseases. So very spicy foods are known to cause oral cancers, esophageal cancers, gastric ulcers and benign ulcers and cancers. So all these are known to cause distress and pain and illness. So one should avoid these rajasic foods. Tamasic foods are foods meant for those who are attracted to these foods which are in the mode of ignorance or tamagun. Yata yamam gata rasam. Yata yamam gata rasam. Puti paryushitam cha yat. Food that is stale. See, you have to understand that there are two ways food can be stale. One is you should eat fresh food. Fresh food means if you take the fruit straight off the tree, if you take the vegetables straight from your kitchen garden, that is the most nutritious, most nourishing, and most tasty food. But food that is stale, food that is cooked long hours before it is eaten, gata rasam, which has lost its taste, which is puti, bad tasting, bad smelling, paryushitam, which is decomposed, which is fermented, typically alcohol, cha yat, uchishtam cha medayam, eating food which has been contaminated by the saliva of other people, and food which is untouchable, amedayam. Such food is attractive to people who are in tamagun. So it is very clear, as I have pointed out, that foods that are in sattvagun are attractive to people who are in sattvagun. People who are in rajagun are attracted to rajasic foodstuff, and people who are in tamagun are attracted to tamasic foodstuffs. But it's also important to note that to encourage the development and the qualities of sattvagun, by eating sattvaguni food, sattvaguni characteristics which are naturally existing within all of us, they begin to gain predominance. Because in the human body, sattvagun, rajagun, tamagun are in constant battle. And sometimes rajagun predominates, sometimes tamagun predominates, sometimes sattvagun predominates. And when we eat sattvic food automatically nourishes and encourages sattvagun in the individual. You have to understand that the food that we eat also contributes to your microbiome. Your microbiome is the gut, that is the bacteria that live in your gut, the bacteria that live on your skin. These are huge in numbers. They are, if you take every cell in your body, the microbiome contains 5 times the number of bacterial cells as there are cells in your body. And this means that you are really more of a microbiome than a human being. You are carrying so many bacteria along with you. And this microbiome determines your susceptibility to disease. It determines also the weight that you carry on your body. If you have the wrong microbiome, no matter how little you eat, you will find it very difficult to lose weight. If you have the right microbiome, you eat like a hungry man, and yet you don't seem to put on weight. These are all the secrets of the microbiome that people are beginning to discover, scientists are discovering. Many diseases are caused by the wrong microbiome, and many health-giving conditions are created by having the right microbiome. So eating sattvic food is the secret the Bhagavad Gita gives as the means by which you will actually bring about sattva gun within yourself. I pointed out last time when I was talking about wrong foods that we should avoid, that in the Chandogya Upanishad it has been described that the food we eat is divided into 3 portions. The most coarse part of the food that you eat, the Chandogya Upanishad says, goes to form your stool, your feces. The middle part of the food that we eat goes to form your flesh. And the most subtle part of the food that you eat goes to form your mind. Therefore, understand that if you are eating products of violence, that animal which has been killed with violence has not died peacefully. It has died in fear, in anger, with anxiety, with depression, and all these emotions are really soaked into the flesh, because emotions really are nothing more than molecules of the mind. And today we are beginning to understand that what we actually experience as emotions are none other than organisms that are being secreted by the nerves. That when your brain experiences something which is terrifying, the gray cells actually secrete neuropeptides. These neuropeptides are secreted at the axons, they're absorbed in the bloodstream. And when you feel a weakness in your knees, a fluttering in your stomach, when you feel a tightness in your chest, a metallic taste in your mouth, when you feel a trembling in your hands and perspiration on your forehead, you are experiencing the molecules of fear. So also, my friends, when you eat animals whose flesh has been soaked in the emotions that are ones that you would rather avoid, these emotions that you eat soon become part of you. And if you do not perform violent deeds as a consequence, you will speak violent words, you will have violent thoughts. So to be peaceful, eat peacefully. Peaceful foods, sattvic foods. Amino acids have their own effect upon the brain. If you eat amino acids that irritate the meninges, you will be more irritable. When you eat amino acids like serotonin, you will automatically become more peaceful. So eating foods which is not the product of violence will definitely determine whether you are more peaceful or you are more aggressive and agitated. Don't compare this to other people, compare it to yourself and your own behavior. And you will notice that when you eat the products of violence, your behavior will be different. And when you eat foods that encourage serotonin, the ingestion of serotonin, which is more sattvic, these foods will make you more calm and more peaceful. And you will experience more equanimity. So having realized this, it is very important for all of you to be careful about what you are eating. But the Bhagavad Gita goes further and goes beyond this. See, one common argument given by people who want to pleasure their tongue and want to find excuses for it is, oh, what is there? When eating plants, you are still taking life, whereas I am taking the life of an animal. So why can't you, if you are taking life of a plant, I am taking life of an animal. Same thing, same thing. This is only the logic of imbeciles and cretins who cannot understand the difference in the violence. There is, compare the violence of taking an apple from a tree and compare that to the violence of cutting the throat of a goat or a cow, and you will understand what is the difference in the violence that is involved. I strongly recommend to every person who is hearing me and still eating products of violence to spend one trip, one morning, one afternoon, go to the slaughterhouse, and going to the slaughterhouse, go and see the animals slaughtered yourself. And having seen how the animals have been slaughtered, you ask yourself whether your taste on your tongue is worth the kind of pain and suffering that you are causing. You are causing yourself tremendous bad karma, horrible bad karma, For what you sow, so shall you reap, and if you sow the wind, you shall reap the whirlwind. Do not forget that if you cause hurt and pain to other creatures just for the pleasure of your tongue, hurt and pain shall follow in its wake. If it doesn't follow immediately, it will follow in course of time. This is the law. This is, in fact, the laws of God, and you shall experience it. You can't break the laws of God. You can only break yourself against the laws of God. You must understand that in fact and in truth, eating the right foods is the secret to avoiding unnecessary bad karma and also eating and living a healthy life and leading a long life. But the Bhagavad Gita does not stop there. It says, yes, even in eating vegetarian food, there is minimal karma. And therefore, in order that you should avoid even that karma which is caused by eating vegetarian food, the Bhagavad Gita recommends that you should offer all your food to God. Yagne shishte sine santo muchante sarva kilbishay bunjate tetva agam papam ye pachantya atma karanat. That those who offer the food that they eat as a sacrifice to God, when they eat that food, they are free from sin. Whereas those who eat that food merely for eating, for your taste, merely for their own hunger and their own nourishment, they eat only sin. So eating food for yourself is sinful, but eating food that has been sacrificed to God, that food which has been sacrificed to God is devoid of sin. This is what the verse from the Bhagavad Gita says. And therefore it is recommended that you should offer all your food with love and devotion to God. But lest you think, let me offer tandoori chicken to God, let me offer mutton biryani to God, or let me offer fried fish to God. You should understand that Krishna clearly points out what can be offered to him. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo mad bhakta prayachati tadaham bhakti uparitam ashnami pratat manah. If you offer me a leaf, a flower, a fruit, a little bit of water, but if you offer it to me with love and with devotion, Krishna says, I accept it. So Krishna takes that sattvic vegetarian food which has been offered to him with love and with devotion, and that food which you have offered to him becomes a sacrament, it becomes sacred. That food which you have offered to God with love and with devotion, that food becomes free from sin. It becomes a karmic food. In fact, this was explained to me by one saint who told me. I said, why should God eat the food that we offer him? He said, please understand, if you have a small child at home, and at that time my son was very young. He said, let him take some money from your own wallet and let him go and buy food or a sweet and then offer it to you. And after you take a small bite, he eats all of it. Will you not take it when he offers it to you? Of course, you will accept it, even if you may not like the sweet that he has offered. You will take it because your child has added love and devotion to it. And that love and devotion transforms not only the food that you're eating, it also transforms you when you eat that food. As the saint explained to me, he said that when you have a patient in your wards who is suffering from tuberculosis, will you allow other patients to eat from his plate? I said, no. He said, why? I said, because in his sputum there will be some tubercle organisms. And these, when they are swallowed by other patients, may well result in gastrointestinal tuberculosis for the unfortunate patient who eats that food. So also that saint pointed out to me, when you offer food to God, then that food which you offer to God is eaten by him because you have offered it with love and devotion. And having offered it with love and devotion, God eats that food. And yet, because God contains everything within him, that food remains there for you to use it, or you to eat it. But when you eat that food is not the same. That food has become prasad. That food has been contaminated with saliva. It has been contaminated by the transcendental saliva of God. And when you eat food that has been contaminated by the transcendental saliva of God, you become infected. You become infected with love of God. So if every grain of rice that you eat, if every drop of water that you drink is offered to the Lord with love and with devotion, then each time you create this prasad and eat that prasad will transform you and it will create within you love of God. And that love of God which is created in your heart will make you aware that God is in your heart and he is guiding you onward towards your destiny. And God will in fact guide you. Tesham satatam yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yen mam upayanti te. Tesham evanu kampartham aham ajnana jam tama nashamyatma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvatah. Seated in your heart with the shining lamp of knowledge, the Lord shall destroy the darkness that is born out of ignorance. So before you eat your sattvic food, that sattvic food, please offer it to the Lord with love and with devotion. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo mad bhakta prachati tadaham bhakti uparitam ashnami pratatmanaha. A leaf, a flower, a fruit, a little bit of water, if you offer it to me with love and devotion, I will eat it. Yagnai shishtasine santo muchyante sarva kilbishai bhunjate tetva agam papa ye pachanti atma karanat. That those who eat the remnants of sacrifice that has been offered to God, they are freed from sin. Whereas those who eat food merely for their own nourishment and their own pleasure, such people only eat sin. Brahma arpanam, Brahma havir, Brahma agnav, Brahmana hutam, Brahma eva tena gantavyam, Brahma karma samadhinah. Everything is God, everything is Brahman, everything, the food that you eat, the offering that you make, all of it is divine. And when you pour divinity into divinity and you eat that product of divinity, you are one with that divinity. Simply chanting these verses and offering food with love and devotion will enhance your spiritual life and transform you into more divine being. This is the truth, this is the law, this is what the Bhagavad Gita states. Therefore, remember, you are what you eat. Just an incidental medical issue, that when you are seated to eat your food and you come running from outside and you start eating your food, your gut is not prepared to receive the food that you're eating. But simply to sit down and offer a prayer to God with love and with devotion, that offering automatically calms down your sympathetic nervous system and activates your parasympathetic nervous system, and therefore starts your gastric juices and other intestinal juices, preparing your gut to receive the food that you are about to eat. and therefore it digests the food that you're eating even better. So I think we have exceeded our time today, but there will be questions, and I am waiting for the questions to come.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Good morning, Dr. Nagarkatti. Dr. Nagarkatti, there are a lot of people you spoke about food. There are a lot of people who say they are foodies. They live to eat. So while not getting into sattvic, tamasic, vegetarian, non-vegetarian food, is it okay to enjoy good food when you have a taste for it? And what do you say about that? A lot of people really enjoy good food, and they do say, we are foodies. We enjoy food a lot.
Nobody is telling you not to enjoy food. We want you to enjoy food. But while we want you to enjoy food, we want you to enjoy that food which is legitimately yours, which is legitimately designed for your body. That food which you will offer to God as sacrifice, so that will actually make yours, transform your mind, which will transform your body, which will in fact transform your consciousness and increase your love of God. You should please go to temples where good prasad is served, and you will certainly appreciate that you can be a foodie and you can also have transcendental prasad. I don't want to be a killjoy. I don't want to reduce your enjoyment. I'm just trying to redirect your enjoyment towards things that will actually transform your life for the better.
Right. We have a question. Is there any forbidden food according to the Bhagavad Gita?
Bhagavad Gita is not a smriti. It is a more or less a shruti. So you will find those items of food that are forbidden are written in detail in scriptures that are smritis. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna clearly points out patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam. So a flower, a fruit, a little bit of water offered to him with love and devotion. He clearly abjures and does not want products of violence being offered to him. So if you want to know further details, you should read the Manusmriti. In the Manusmriti, it is clearly described what foods are permitted, what is not permitted. And in the Manusmriti, even foods like onion and garlic are considered to be tamasic foods because they actually increase the foul smell that comes from the body and therefore are forbidden to be offered to God and also to be consumed by man.
Dr. Shantanu, if someone is a non-vegetarian and suddenly turns over a new leaf and turns into a vegetarian, does all the bad karma that they have accumulated all over the years by consuming meat is negated? If yes, in how much time, and if there's something that they can do to negate it?
I didn't follow your last part.
So, if someone is eating non-vegetarian and they turn vegetarian, does the bad karma that they have accumulated over a period of time is negated? And if not, how do they negate it? What can they do to get rid of the bad karma that they've accumulated by eating non-veg?
So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna points out that api chedasi papebhyo sarvebhyo papakritamah sarvam jnana plavaineva vrijinam santirishyasi. So very clearly Krishna points out, even if you are the greatest sinner amongst all sinners, even if you have been eating human flesh, even then he says that once you take to this path and once you transform yourself by receiving this knowledge, you will cross over this ocean of suffering. Yatha idhamso samido agnir bhasmasat kurute arjuna. Jnana agni dagda karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. Just like from from all firewood is converted into ashes by the fire, so also all your sins will be converted into ashes by this divine knowledge which Krishna is giving in the Bhagavad Gita. Api chet sudracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva sa mantavya samyak vyavasatyo hi sah. Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanahi name bhaktya pranashyati. So he points out also that when you begin on this path, regardless of what abominable actions you performed in the past, you immediately become qualified as sadhu. And very soon you will become dharmatma. So, O son of Kunti, declare it boldly, your devotee shall never perish. My devotee shall never perish.
Dr. Nagarkatti, maybe we can take one last question. Someone's asking, can food be a means to serve God?
Yes, when you are offering exactly what today's lecture is about. When you offer sattvic food to God with love and devotion, you after that and you consume that food which you have offered with love and devotion, that is serving God with food.
Okay.
In fact,
Yes.
in the homes of devotees, food is not prepared for human beings, it is prepared for God. And after it has been offered to God, then the human beings in the house, they eat that food and transform themselves.
Dr. Nagarkatti, there's another, this is not really particularly related to the, to Bhagavad Gita per se, but vegan, being vegan, veganism. Is it an extension of being a vegetarian? What do you think is better in terms of purifying of one's soul, body, and mind?
Veganism is a very good diet. In fact, there's been evidence that eating vegan food perhaps is the best for prolongation of life. Unfortunately, eating vegan food denies you many other nutrition which is possibly available by eating lacto-vegetarian diet.
Hmm.
And therefore, they have to take medical supplements along with that vegan diet. So if you can eat vegan food, great, that's wonderful. But the Bhagavad Gita suggests that Krishna is the cowherd boy who encourages the eating of lacto-vegetarian diet. So it's good if you can eat vegan food. I don't deny it's an excellent practice, and your health will definitely take. Your loss of weight will occur. Your many benefits are there in vegan diet.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Nagarkatti. It was a great session. Do you want to talk about what we'll be talking about in the next session so that audience can look forward to the next session?
Yeah, I will be continuing the other parts of the Bhagavad Gita as I go on. So I yet have to cover different forms of yoga. Of course, in COVID times now, I should cover something on facing death. And there's so many things that are there, which will be covered in the Bhagavad Gita as we go on as a summary. And then having covered the summary, we can continue verse by verse for those who are interested.
Of course, of course. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Nagarkatti.
Right? Hari Om, Jai Shri Krishna, Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much.
Thank you.
See you everyone next week. Hari Om.